In a world that's constantly asking for more time, more energy, more compromise, how do we stay grounded? How do we keep our focus sharp, our values intact, and still move forward with purpose? What if success wasn't just about climbing higher, but making sure you're climbing in the right direction? That every step you take leads not just to achievement, but to alignment with who you are and who you're becoming. Today, we're diving into a timeless blueprint for intentional living. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's more than a productivity guide, it's a roadmap to personal leadership, where effectiveness is rooted in character and progress begins from the inside out. Whether you're a lead or a learner, or simply someone seeking clarity in the chaos, this journey is for you. Let's explore how you can lead with integrity, succeed with purpose, and live a life that truly matters. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People wasn't just another self-help book, it was a movement. Written by Stephen R. Covey, a respected leadership expert, educator, and keynote speaker. This book emerged in 1989 and has since touched millions of lives around the globe. So, what made it so powerful? Unlike many personal development books that promise quick hacks or surface-level fixes, Covey took a radically different approach. He didn't just talk about changing behavior, he talked about changing character. He believed that real, lasting success doesn't come from manipulating outcomes or perfecting routines. It comes from aligning our lives with timeless, universal principles, things like integrity, responsibility, respect, and fairness. Covey taught that effectiveness is not about being busy or just getting more done, it's about getting the right things done, for the right reasons. And that starts on the inside. He introduced the concept of a character ethic, the idea that who we are matters more than how we appear. That success is a natural byproduct of living with intention, purpose, and principle. At the core of his philosophy are habits, those quiet, repeated actions that shape our daily lives. Covey argued that if you want to make meaningful change, you don't begin with outcomes, you begin with mindset, with perception, with the way you view the world, and your place in it. That's why the 7 habits are organized from the inside out. The first 3 are about mastering the private victories, becoming independent, proactive, and purpose-driven. The next 3 focus on public victories, working effectively with others through empathy, collaboration, and synergy. And the final habit is about continual growth, sharpening the saw to renew and sustain your progress. But perhaps what made Covey's message endure is that he didn't just teach these habits, live them. His work wasn't built on theory, but on a deep belief in human potential. A belief that each of us has the power to lead lives of meaning, strength, and contribution if we're willing to start with ourselves. And that's why the 7 habits remains more relevant than ever. In a noisy, distracted world, it offers something timeless, a compass, a framework for building not just a successful life but a principled one. Let's take a deeper look at the 7 powerful habits that Stephen R. Covey identified, habits that not only shape personal integrity, but form the very foundation of lasting professional success. These aren't tips or tricks. They're principles, habits of thought and behavior that, when practiced consistently, help you live and lead with purpose, clarity, and effectiveness. Habit 1. Be proactive. This habit is the gateway to personal leadership. It's where change begins. Being proactive means taking control of your response to what life throws your way. It means recognizing that you have the power to choose your actions, your words, your attitude, even when you can't control external events. Covey argues that we are not products of our conditions. We are products of our decisions. That subtle shift from reacting to taking responsibilities in everything. Proactivity isn't about being aggressive. It's about recognizing your responsibility, the ability to choose your response. It's about living in alignment with your values, not your moods. It's about moving from victim to creator. And in a professional context, Proactivity is the difference between drifting through a job and designing a career. Habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. Imagine you're at the end of your life. What do you hope people will say about you? What legacy do you want to leave behind? Covey invites us to pause and define our personal vision of success. Because without a clear destination, it's easy to live reactively, chasing short-term wins while losing sight of what truly matters. This habit challenges you to begin each day, each task, each project with a clear understanding of your desired outcome. It's about setting meaningful goals, but more than that, it's about creating a personal mission. Start a mental compass that keeps you aligned with your deepest values. It gives your actions direction. It transforms motion into meaning. Habit 3. Put first things first. This is where planning meets execution. It's about living your priorities, not just stating them. Covey's third habit builds on the first two by asking, now that you've taken responsibility and defined your direction, how will you manage your time and energy to reflect what matters most? This is not traditional time management. It's not about scheduling every minute. It's about leading your life based on importance, not urgency. It's about learning to say no to the noisy distractions, the trivial tasks, and yes to the things that nurture your goals, your health, your relationships, your growth. Professionally, it's what separates busy people from effective leaders. Habit 4. Think win-win. In a world that often pits us against each other, Covey's fourth habit asks, what if success didn't have to come at someone else's expense? Think win-win is a mindset of mutual benefit. It's rooted in the belief that there's plenty of success to go around. It doesn't mean compromise. It means creating outcomes where everyone leaves the table better off. It requires confidence and consideration, strength and empathy. In leadership, in negotiations, in friendships, win-win fosters trust and shared success. It means moving from competition to collaboration, from scarcity to abundance. And it works because it's built on respect. Habit 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Communication is the lifeblood of relationships, and this habit flips our instinct on its head. Most of us listen with the intent to reply, to convince, to defend. But Covey challenges us to listen with the intent to understand. This is about empathetic listening, putting yourself in another person's shoes, and truly hearing their perspective. In business, this is the root of negotiation, teamwork, and conflict resolution. In life, it's the foundation of connection. When people feel seen and heard, they open up. And only then you truly understand can you speak in a way that earns trust and drives impact. Habit 6. Synergize. This habit is where the magic happens. Synergy is not just about working together, it's about creating something better together. It's the principle that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Synergy thrives on diversity of thought, of background, of perspective. It asks us to value differences, not just tolerate them. It's not always easy. It takes vulnerability, trust, and the willingness to be influenced. But the results are powerful, innovative solutions, dynamic teams, and outcomes no one could have reached alone. In a rapidly changing world, synergy isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Habit 7. Sharpen the saw. Finally, we arrive at renewal. Covey knew that effectiveness is not a one-time achievement, it's a lifelong journey. And that journey requires rhythm. Work, then rest. Strive, then restore. Sharpening the saw means taking time to renew yourself regularly across 4 key dimensions: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Exercise, learn, reflect, connect, pray, meditate, laugh. It's about making space to recharge, because you can't give your best to others if you're running on empty. Professionals who sharpen the saw avoid burnout. Leaders who sharpen the saw grow their vision. And people who sharpen the saw stay aligned, energized, and whole. Final thoughts. The 7 habits aren't linear steps, 3 interconnected principles. that work together to transform your mindset, your relationships, and your results. They invite you to live from the inside out, to build character before credentials, to measure success not just by what you achieve but by who you become in the process. Covey didn't just give us a book. He gave us a blueprint for living, eating, and growing with purpose. So wherever you are in your journey, remember, effectiveness is not something you stumble into. It's something you build habit by habit, day by day. So, what can you actually gain from living the 7 habits? Let's start with clarity and direction. When you embrace these principles, you stop living life in reaction mode. You move from being driven by the demands of the day to being guided by a deeper sense of purpose. Instead of asking, "What's urgent?" you begin to ask, "What really matters?" That shift gives you the power to design your life intentionally. You start acting on your vision, not just reacting to your environment. Second, you build stronger, more meaningful relationships. Whether it's at work, at home, or in your community, relationships thrive on trust, and trust is built through consistency, listening, and shared respect. Habits like you think, win-win, seek first to understand help you become someone who doesn't just talk, but truly connects. Over time, you develop the kind of presence that draws people in because you lead with empathy, not ego. Third, you make better decisions. Why? Because your choices are anchored to your values, not to external pressure or temporary emotions. With a clear personal mission, you begin to filter decisions through a lens of purpose and principle. You learn to say not out of guilt or fear, but out of clarity. And that makes you more focused, more confident, and ultimately more effective. Fourth, and maybe most overlooked, is resilience and balance. Covey reminds us that success is a marathon, not a sprint. Burnout isn't a badge of honor. It's a signal that you've neglected one of the most important assets in your life, yourself. The habit of sharpening the saw teaches you to step back and renew yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And in doing so, you become more grounded, more creative, and more alive. But above all, these habits give you integrity in action. They don't just help you appear successful, they help you live as someone worth following, someone whose life speaks louder than their resume, someone whose success is rooted not just in results, but in principles. Whether you're a student seeking direction, professional climbing the ladder, a parent guiding your family, or an entrepreneur building a vision, Covey's 7 habits aren't just helpful. They're transformative. They don't give you a map. They give you a compass, one that always points toward what matters most, not just success, but significance. In a world that often rewards speed over substance and noise over depth, Stephen Covey's timeless wisdom stands out. He reminds us that true effectiveness isn't loud or flashy, it's quiet, intentional, and rooted in unshakable character. The 7 habits aren't hacks or shortcuts. They're a foundation, a way to live, lead, and grow with purpose. Master these habits, and you won't just achieve more. You'll become someone more grounded, more impactful, and more aligned with what truly matters.